walking into the National Railway Museum for the first time.
Let's go and see what people get there.
Flying Scotsman. Oh, I really don't know any of this. Class 31.
Tänker inte du och Fredrik ställa er framför oss så får jag...
Wow. Dynamometer car. I'll keep on filming in a bit. Going into the Shinkansen bullet train.
They could sit in here and so look, we've got a little blind and everything.
Where are we going? Are we going for a journey on the train?
Oh, that was interesting. Going on to the cab of Flying Scotsman.
Yes, you just try to squeeze on because
Squeeze on, yeah. Squeeze out.
Right, welcome aboard Flying Scotsman. Flying Scotsman was built in 1923 at the Doncaster Works, and it's probably the most famous steam locomotive in the world.
Yeah.
Everybody seems to have heard of Flying Scotsman. There's a number of reasons why it's so famous. Firstly, it's not just the locomotive that's known as Flying Scotsman. It's actually named after a train service that has operated between London King's Cross and Edinburgh Waverley since 1862. Now in 1862 it was actually known as the Special Scotch Express, because it was a fast service, it was the fastest service between the two capitals, it soon became nicknamed by the public as the Flying Scotsman. And it didn't officially get, the train service didn't officially get that name until 1923, when the LNER decided that it was going to rename the service officially as the Flying Scotsman, and as part of the publicity for that relaunch, it decides to name one of its big new powerful Pacific locomotives as Flying Scotsman after the train service. So it's the name of the locomotive and it's the name of the train service, and people do get a bit confused with that sometimes. So it was already quite a household name at the time, but in 1924 it gets a bit more publicity because the London and North Eastern Railway decided to display at the British Empire exhibition at Wembley, which is a huge commercial and engineering exhibition, and at the time it's the biggest international exhibition that's been held anywhere in the world. Tens of millions of people attend that exhibition over a 2-year period. And Flying Scotsman is one of the biggest and most popular exhibits in the show. So millions of people have seen it, and it becomes famous all over the world, and it's already getting quite a lot of fame. In 1928 it becomes even more famous because the Flying Scotsman service becomes non-stop. That means achieving a world record non-stop run for a train. 393 miles. Flying Scotsman is chosen as one of the 5 locomotives to run that non-stop service, and it carries out the inaugural run. But there was one big innovation that they had to achieve the non-stop run, because 393 miles means that you have the poor old fireman who would be sitting here, although he wouldn't have a lot of chance to sit down, to be fair. He'd have to shovel about a ton of coal an hour from our tender into our firebox. So over 8 hours, that's pretty hard work. It's hot, it's dirty work, and you usually wouldn't do that for 8 hours without a break. You might do it once, but you wouldn't be able to do it every day. So they had to find a way of changing the crew. When they didn't run non-stop, if they had a station stop, they could just easily just swap the crew over at a station. Unfortunately, with no station stops, we have to find a way of getting a spare crew from the train into the cab. To achieve that, Sir Nigel Gresley, who designed the locomotive, had the idea of squeezing a small corridor down the side of the tender. You can just see the door on the left-hand side there.
It won't be very big.
No.
I wouldn't get through.
Rumour has it, Sir Nigel Gresley worked out the size of corridor he needed by arranging his dining room chairs in his dining room against the wall and seeing he was quite a big guy, and he decided he could squeeze how much room we need to squeeze through, and said, well, if I can fit through, all the drivers can. So that was the criteria. That's how he worked out, apparently.
Very scientific.
But of course it did cause them run because it unbalances the tender, because normally it would be balanced, so they have to put things like counterweights in order to he wasn't more than just doing shuffling around with his shares. But anyway, that was an innovation, and that meant they could achieve the non-stop run, and they were the only company to use corridor tenders and run non-stop services on a regular basis like that. So in 1928 it's achieved a world record non-stop service. In 1934 the locomotive achieves another world record. It becomes officially the first steam locomotive to achieve 100 miles an hour. That's measured by the dynamometer car that we've got attached behind it today, which measures not just speed but all sorts of other things like so it was used to record all the sort of parameters that a steam locomotive was working to. So in 1934 it's already achieved another 2 records. It's a non-stop record holder, it's a speed record holder. However, it does start then get superseded by the brand new A4 locomotives like Mallard. So whilst it continues to run up and down the East Coast Main Line for the next sort of 20 years, it's maybe not quite as famous as it used to be. Although the train service continues to run, but generally not pulled by Flying Scotsman itself.
Right.
So in 1963, British Railways are getting rid of all its steam locomotives, and Flying Scotsman is retired. It's in the condition it was in 1963 when it did its last runs for British Railways. So it's in British Railways livery and with its double chimney and smoke deflector. It's then sold in 1963 to Alan Pegler, and he gets a whole new lease of life because he restores it back to its old livery and condition, and he runs it on steam rail tours around the country. It runs on lines it's never run before, so he gets a whole new lease of fame. Eventually he takes it to America, and he runs some exhibition trains in America, firstly on the East Coast, then it goes across to the West Coast. He also runs in Canada. Unfortunately, eventually he starts to run out of money, and sadly he ends up having to file for bankruptcy. Flying Scotsman gets stuck in America in a warehouse for some time. They argue over the money. Fortunately, it is rescued by another rich steam enthusiast, Sir William McAlpine. He brings it back to Britain, gets it overhauled again, and it continues to run on steam rail tours and heritage railways for years and years, up until the late 80s, when they get an offer to take it to Australia, part of the Australian bicentennial celebrations. And so it travels to Australia. They put it on a ship, it runs various lines across Australia, and they've got some huge long stretch of the line there, as you can imagine. And at one point it achieves another non-stop record for a steam locomotive of around 450 miles, so it's achieving a world records even so 65 years after it was first built. It then changed hands quite a number of times, and in 2004 the National Railway Museum bought it with the help of the Heritage Lottery Fund and a public appeal. It was in quite tired condition. Its most recent owner before that had sort of overworked it. It hadn't been as well maintained as it should have been, and unfortunately it had run for 80 years without really stopping. I mean, originally, steam locomotives are designed to run for maybe 30, 40 years at most.
Right.
So it was well beyond its design life. It's done something like 2.6 million miles in its life. So it was very tired. We've had to strip it down, rebuild it virtually from the bottom up. We've taken everything apart and restored just about every piece on it. So it is we're hoping it's going to be in really fantastic condition for the next several years at least, and should be steaming around the country on rail tours and heritage railways for years to come. So if you've got any questions, please do ask, or we've got minutes to take some quick photos.
Right. Are these the original? All this is original then, and it's just been renovated, or?
I would doubt that original. So some of it will be original before the overhaul. Because
but not from day one.
Unlikely we know there are some bits of the locomotive that are original to 1923. We know the cab sides are original because they have the original numbers on. We know some of the things like the splashes over the wheels are original. There are other odd bits that have got the original numbers on, but actually steam locomotives tend to be things that pieces get replaced over the years in service. It was, it's had numerous different boilers, for example, because they just replaced the boilers, swapped boilers over when they came to overhaul them. And we know, for example, one of the cylinders we've replaced. It comes off a sister locomotive, which it was acquired as a spare by Alan Pegler when he bought the engine. So I mean. Basically, some of the bits are original to 1923. Others, have been replaced over,
Yeah.
you know, over nearly 90 years. So.
Well, the renovations were super.
How
Were you involved? Oh, sorry.
How long does it take to stoke it up and get it ready to move? Or it's
I'm not sure
up and
exactly, but generally speaking, a few hours.
Yeah,
Yeah, to
right.
get the
You have to get a good
Yeah, I mean,
burn
you
on
would,
it.
to get from cold, you have to start light your fire. You'd have bits of wood, some rags, and so on
Yeah.
to get it going. Then you start putting your coal in, but to get it operating to sort of 220 pound per square inch pressure, you're looking quite a few hours.
Yeah, yeah.
I've heard it's 4 hours minimum.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
probably
yeah.
about right.
This is the gentleman. He's our new railway man.
Yeah.
That was brilliant. That's
Okay.
fantastic.
Incredible.
And that was the original coal amount that you wanted. That would all be full and that would all go in one journey, would it?
But you would need, it holds 9 tons, does it? Nominally. You would use about just around 8 tons for a London to Edinburgh trip. You'd have a bit spare. It would depend on the conditions. You have a headwind, you use more coal.
Yes, yeah, true, yeah.
How often would you take water on board?
Regularly over the course of a trip at various water troughs.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. It holds 5,000 gallons. You probably need about 12,000 gallons of water
Wow.
to get.
Yeah.
I can't believe that.
And that heat will soon turn it all into steam. wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that was very, very
Wow.
interesting.
Yes, really.
Hey,
Right. Okay.
brilliant.